They smiled, shook hands, and announced Anthony Rodriguez's promotion while my name sat there like yesterday's coffee again. After 12 years of pulling their systems out of the fire, training half the engineering team, and being told next quarter every single time, I watched a 28-year-old MBA get handed the director role I'd been chasing for 6 years. That boardroom meeting wasn't just disappointing. It was the moment everything became crystal clear. I'm Christopher Sullivan, 47 years old, and I've been Senior Operations Manager at TechFlow Solutions long enough to know when I'm being played. What happened next wasn't loud or dramatic, but it made them panic later. And when they came begging, I didn't say yes. Let me back up and give you the full picture. TechFlow is a mid-sized technology consulting firm here in Atlanta. About 600 employees pulling in around $85 million annually. We handle cloud infrastructure migrations for companies that should have moved their systems years ago but didn't want to deal with the headache. That's where I come in, or came in anyway. For the past 12 years, I've been the guy they call when everything's on fire. The data core financial migration that was 3 weeks behind schedule and bleeding money. I fixed it over a weekend. The Pacific Network security audit that found 52 critical vulnerabilities, I redesigned their entire network architecture in 2 weeks. Apex Solutions system that kept crashing every Black Friday, I built them a load balancing solution that's still running flawlessly 3 years later. I manage a team of 15 senior engineers spread across 3 time zones. My project portfolio is worth $22 million in active contracts. I've got my CISP certification, AWS Solutions Architect credentials, and I've been invited to speak at the Southeast Tech Conference 3 years running. I've written 4 articles for Infrastructure Weekly that guys in the industry still reference. I've trained 8 engineers who've gone on to senior positions. Every single one of them got promoted to roles I applied for but didn't get. The math on that started bothering me around year 4. But I kept telling myself it was just timing. Maybe I was being too patient. Maybe I should have been more political. Maybe I needed to network better. My wife, Sarah, started asking me why I kept coming home frustrated every quarter when promotion discussions happened. Chris, you're 47. How much longer are you going to wait for them to recognize what you're worth? She wasn't wrong, but loyalty meant something to me. I figured if I just kept delivering, kept solving their problems, kept being the guy they could count on, eventually they'd have to acknowledge it. Patrick Murphy, our VP of Engineering, has been my boss for the past 6 years. Nice enough guy on the surface, but he's got this way of making promises that somehow never materialize. Your turn is coming, Chris. We just need to see how this quarter plays out. The board wants to see a few more wins under your belt. Always something. Always next quarter. The funny thing is, I believed him for years. I'd walk out of those conversations thinking maybe this time was different. Maybe Patrick was finally going to bat for me upstairs. I'd go home and tell Sarah about the conversation, about how confident Patrick seemed, about how this might finally be it. Then, quarter after quarter, someone else would get the role. Last year, it was Timothy Davis from the Denver office. A guy I'd never even met got promoted to regional director over a position I'd been unofficially doing for 18 months. Before that, it was Jennifer Martinez from sales who jumped into a technical leadership role despite having 0 engineering background. Each time, Patrick would call me into his office afterward with the same speech about development opportunities and being patient. The conference room was packed that Thursday morning. Glass walls, leather chairs, the usual corporate theater. All the senior staff was there. Patrick, the CTO, a couple of board members, even some people from other departments who had no business being in an engineering meeting. That should have been my first clue something was different this time. I'd actually prepared for this meeting differently. Instead of just hoping they'd announce my promotion, I'd done something I'd never done before. I'd written down every major project I'd led over the past 2 years, every crisis I'd solved, every client relationship I'd built. I had a folder sitting on my desk with documentation of my contributions, client testimonials, and measurable outcomes. Part of me was planning to ask for a meeting with the board myself if this promotion cycle passed me by again. Patrick cleared his throat and said, "We're excited to announce our new director of cloud infrastructure." He paused just long enough for everyone to expect my name. I actually started to sit up straighter, thinking about the speech I'd prepared in my head if they called on me to say something. Then he said, "Anthony will be stepping into the role effective immediately." A few people clapped. Someone said, "Congratulations." I kept my face neutral while something inside me just snapped. Clean and quiet, like a circuit breaker throwing. Not anger. Exactly. More like a switch flipping from hope to clarity. I didn't look at Anthony because I already knew he was grinning. Kid's been at the company for exactly 16 months. Fresh MBA from some fancy East Coast school. Talks a good game about digital transformation and agile methodologies, but ask him to configure a load balancer and he'll give you a blank stare. His biggest qualification, his uncle Eduardo Rodriguez sits on our board of directors. Family business, apparently. Patrick turned toward me and added, "Chris, let's connect offline about your development path." Like that made it private instead of humiliating. Like using corporate speak could somehow soften what had just happened in front of 20 people. I said, "So that's a no again." The room went dead silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. Someone shifted in their chair. I wasn't angry or emotional, just stating a fact. He replied, "It's not a no. It's about timing." "This is the 8th time you've said that," I said. First time anyone had counted out loud. First time I'd made the pattern visible to everyone in the room instead of just accepting it privately. Patrick shifted in his chair, looking uncomfortable. "These decisions are complex. Chris, there are a lot of moving parts. Who's making them?" I asked. Someone coughed. Anthony studied the table like it contained the secrets of the universe. The board members exchanged glances. Patrick said, "Let's keep this professional." I am being professional. I'm asking why the guy who saved the data core migration and trained 8 engineers wasn't even considered for a role that's basically what I've been doing unofficially for 3 years. That's when the real humiliation hit. Not because of what Patrick said next, but how easily he said it. Like he'd practiced this line in the mirror. "Chris, you're invaluable where you are," he said, smiling like it was a compliment. "The team depends on you. Our clients trust you. You're the backbone of this department." I nodded once, slowly. So I'm valuable enough to fix disasters, but not valuable enough to prevent them. Valuable enough to train people who get promoted over me, but not valuable enough to promote myself. He didn't answer. Just moved on to the next agenda item like I hadn't spoken. Started talking about quarterly targets and client satisfaction metrics while I sat there processing what had just happened. That was the line. Not because I didn't get promoted. I'd been dealing with that disappointment for years. It was because they did it publicly, formally, and without shame. After 6 years of next quarter promises, after building half their client relationships personally, after being the guy everyone calls when the impossible needs to happen, they handed my job to someone's nephew and expected me to smile about it. The meeting ended like they always do. Chairs scraping, people avoiding eye contact. Anthony getting pulled aside by leadership while I gathered my laptop and walked back to my desk. A couple of people patted my shoulder and mumbled apologies as I passed. Jennifer from accounting whispered, "I'm sorry," as I walked down the hallway. I said it's fine because that's what you say when something important and irreversible just happened and you need time to figure out what comes next. By the time I sat down at my desk that afternoon, my inbox already had a message from Patrick with the subject "Quick Sync." I didn't open it. Another email came from Pacific Networks asking if I could hop on a call. Their new deployment was acting up again. I replied, yes. I always replied, yes. But something had changed. I worked the rest of that day the same way I always had. Answered tickets, solved problems, kept the systems running. But I noticed something different in how people looked at me. Some looked relieved, like my presence meant their stuff would work. Others looked uncomfortable, like they just watched something they didn't want happening to them. At one point, Anthony walked by with a stack of printouts and said, "Hope we can work well together, Chris." I said, "We already do," which was true. What I didn't say was that the decision they made that morning had changed everything. That meeting wasn't about a title, it was a declaration. It told me exactly where I stood, how I was seen, and how far my 12 years of loyalty extended in their eyes. I didn't cry. I didn't argue again. I didn't march into Patrick's office asking what I could do better. I closed my laptop, saved my files, and took a breath, because humiliation sharpens your focus if you let it. By the time I shut down that evening, I knew one thing for certain: I was done waiting. Whatever came next was going to be on my terms. Here's what I realized driving home that night. For 6 years, I'd been playing their game by their rules, waiting for recognition that was never coming, hoping that if I just worked a little harder, stayed a little later, fixed one more crisis, they'd finally see my value. But they already saw it, they just didn't want to pay for it. Sarah was waiting for me when I got home. She took one look at my face and knew. They passed you over again. I told her about Anthony, about his uncle, about Patrick's speech. She listened without interrupting, which she's always been good at. When I finished, she said, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I said, but that wasn't entirely true. Something was already forming in my mind. Not revenge, exactly. More like a recalibration. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened up my resume and started updating it. Not because I was planning to job hunt, but because I wanted to see my own accomplishments written down objectively. Client saves, system implementations, team development, revenue impact. When you're in the middle of it, working day to day, you lose track of what you've actually built. Looking at those numbers, I realized something. I wasn't just an employee, I was a significant portion of TechFlow's operational capability. The question was, what happens when that capability decides to operate somewhere else? Nothing about my behavior changed in a way anyone could point to. That's why nobody noticed what had shifted. I answered the same tickets, joined the same calls, solved the same problems, but I stopped volunteering context. When someone asked how a fix worked, I gave them the solution, not the methodology. When leadership asked if a client issue was resolved, I said yes without adding the background that explained why it would stay resolved. I kept my tone steady and my calendar full, but I let decisions land where they belonged, instead of quietly absorbing them myself. Clients kept asking for me by name and I kept showing up, but I started copying fewer people on responses and letting requests come directly instead of through channels that diluted accountability. The shift was subtle but immediate. In meetings, I spoke last or not at all. When I did speak, people listened differently. Funny how that works. The less you say, the more weight your words carry. But the real change was in how I started documenting everything. Not for revenge. I'm not that petty. For clarity. I wanted to understand exactly where my effort was going and who was benefiting from it. I started saving things differently, labeling files with purpose instead of convenience, tracking dependencies like weather patterns, not to control them, but to understand what happens when conditions change. I noticed how often people said the process when they meant me. How often they said, "We'll circle back," when they meant they had no idea what to do next. I didn't correct them. I let the language do its work. Requests started stacking up faster than usual. Not because I slowed down, but because I stopped smoothing edges that weren't mine to smooth. When something broke, I fixed it, documented the fix, and moved on without announcing the save. When questions came in after hours, I answered them during business hours and ended threads instead of turning them into training sessions. People adjusted. Some became more precise with their requests. Others grew frustrated without understanding why. Leadership kept holding meetings that sounded confident but felt thin. I listened without offering reinforcement. At my desk, I kept a private log of what I touched each day. Not as evidence, but as a map. Not of who needed me, but where the work actually flowed. I learned which approvals stalled without my input, which reports stopped making sense without my context, and which client calls ran long when I wasn't framing the problems. The Pacific Networks account was a perfect example. They'd been having intermittent connectivity issues for weeks. Every time their system hiccuped, they'd call the main support line, get transferred around for an hour, and eventually someone would escalate it to me. I'd diagnose it in 10 minutes, implement a fix, and send them a brief explanation. What I started doing was documenting exactly what happened each time. The original call time, how long it took to reach me, what the actual problem was, and how long my fix took. Then I'd note who was supposed to own that type of issue, according to our org chart, versus who actually solved it. The pattern was embarrassing. Anthony's team was supposed to handle level 3 infrastructure issues. In practice, they'd poke around for a few hours, generate a lot of email traffic, and then quietly ask me to take a look. I'd solve it. They'd send the client update, and everyone moved on like that was normal. None of this required confrontation. It required restraint. The hardest part was resisting the urge to protect outcomes for people who had already decided what I was worth. When misalignments appeared, I flagged them once and let them travel upward instead of quietly fixing them myself. When Anthony took credit for something I'd architected, I didn't interrupt. I just stopped being the safety net underneath his mistakes. The result wasn't chaos. It was visibility. Patterns that had been hidden by my effort began surfacing. Conversations shifted from certainty to questions. I remained professional, available, and focused, which made it hard to accuse me of checking out. I was still doing the work, just not compensating for gaps that weren't acknowledged. By month's end, people treated my availability like a resource instead of an assumption. Leadership started asking for updates that didn't exist in the format they expected. I watched them hunt for clarity in dashboards that had always relied on context I provided in hallway conversations. I said nothing, not out of spite, but out of accuracy. The work was getting done, it just wasn't being translated for them anymore. The first real crack appeared during our monthly client review meeting. Patrick was presenting our Q4 metrics to the board, talking about our 96% client satisfaction rate and improved response times. One of the board members asked how we'd achieved those improvements. Patrick started talking about process optimization and team efficiency. Then someone asked for specific examples. That's when things got interesting. Patrick fumbled through his presentation, mentioning cross-functional collaboration and streamlined workflows. The board member pressed for specifics. Who was responsible for the cloud-first turnaround? How did we resolve the Pacific Network's security issues so quickly? Patrick kept using we and the team without naming anyone. I sat there taking notes, saying nothing. Finally, the board member looked directly at me and asked, "Chris, you've been quiet. What's your perspective on these improvements?" I could have saved Patrick right there. Could have talked about teamwork and shared success. Instead, I said I'd be happy to walk through the technical details of any specific project you'd like to discuss. The room shifted. Patrick's face went pale. The board member smiled and said, "Let's start with cloud first." I spent the next 20 minutes methodically explaining exactly what had been broken, how I'd diagnosed it, and what I'd implemented to fix it. No ego, no drama, just facts. When I finished, another board member asked about Data Core, then Pacific Networks. By the end of the meeting, it was clear to everyone in that room where the actual work was happening. Patrick looked like he'd been hit by a truck. That's when I knew things were about to change fast. I didn't wake up one morning deciding to leave. I decided to prepare like leaving was inevitable. Different mindset entirely. First thing I did was stop treating my knowledge like company property and start treating it like a professional asset. I scheduled my days so critical conversations happened in real time instead of being summarized later. Fewer secondhand interpretations, more direct accountability. When Pacific Networks asked for reassurance about their Q1 rollout, I got on the call myself and addressed their concerns plainly. Then I followed up with a brief recap that confirmed decisions without explaining how we got there. That shift changed the dynamic. Clients started looping me in earlier, asking for my read before finalizing decisions, referring to me as the technical lead without anyone correcting them. I didn't encourage it, but I didn't deflect it either. Internally, I started noting which commitments assumed my involvement even when my name wasn't attached. It became obvious quickly that certain timelines banked on my intervention. I also set firmer boundaries around availability. Still reasonable, but declining last-minute requests unless they involved revenue or client risk. That forced priorities to reveal themselves. Leadership meetings grew more frantic. As Q4 progressed, I watched them chase symptoms instead of causes. I stayed out of it. Outside the office, I took quiet steps. Updated my portfolio with outcomes rather than responsibilities. Before and after states, client feedback, measurable improvements. Had coffee with former colleagues who'd left and asked what they wished they'd done differently. Opened a separate savings account and set a target that removed urgency from any future decision. None of this showed on my calendar. At work, I remained dependable, which made the growing dependence harder to acknowledge. When Patrick asked if I could just take a look at something outside my scope, I asked what decision it would support and who owned it. Sometimes he didn't have an answer. The clearest signal came from clients whose contracts were up for renewal. Instead of negotiating through sales, they asked me directly what continuation would look like, as if I were setting the terms. I redirected them appropriately, but noted the pattern. It wasn't loyalty to TechFlow, it was trust in execution. I also started reaching out to my professional network more intentionally. Not job hunting exactly, but strengthening relationships I'd let slide while being buried in daily operations. I accepted invitations to industry events I'd normally skip, participated in technical forums I'd been lurking in, and responded to LinkedIn messages I'd normally ignore. What I found was that my reputation extended further than I'd realized. People knew about the Data Core save, the Pacific Network's redesign, the articles I'd written. At a cybersecurity meetup in downtown Atlanta, 3 different people approached me about potential consulting opportunities. I wasn't looking for work, But I was starting to understand my market value outside TechFlow's narrow perspective. The breaking point came in early December. Anthony's team had been working on a cloud migration for Apex Solutions, a $2.2 million contract that Anthony kept calling his signature project. 3 weeks into the migration, Apex's entire customer database went offline during peak business hours. Anthony panicked, called an all-hands meeting, brought in consultants, had his team working around the clock. After 16 hours of chaos, Apex's CEO called our CTO directly and said if this wasn't fixed in the next 6 hours, they were terminating the contract and pursuing legal action. That's when Patrick called me at home at 11 p.m. "Chris, I know this isn't your project, but we need you to take a look." I asked what authority Anthony was giving me to make changes to his architecture. "Whatever you need," Patrick said, "just fix it." I fixed it in 2 hours. The problem was basic. They'd misconfigured the database replication settings and didn't have proper failover protocols. Stuff any senior engineer should have caught in testing. I documented the fix, sent Apex a technical summary, and went back to bed. The next morning, Anthony sent an email to the entire leadership team taking credit for the rapid resolution and innovative problem-solving approach. He thanked his team for their collaborative effort and mentioned the importance of learning from challenges. My name wasn't in the email. That afternoon, Apex's CTO called me directly and said, "Chris, Anthony's team seems to have some gaps. Can you personally oversee the rest of this migration?" I told him he'd need to work with our account management team on resource allocation. He said, "I'm not asking for your team, I'm asking for you. Apex wants you as technical lead on this project, or we're moving to a different vendor." I forwarded that email to Patrick without comment. That night, Sarah and I had a long conversation. She'd been watching me come home increasingly frustrated for months, but something was different now. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. What if I started my own consulting firm? I asked her. She smiled. "I've been waiting for you to say that for 2 years. We talked about the logistics, our mortgage, the kids' college funds, health insurance. I showed her the numbers I'd been quietly putting together. The contracts I was already managing personally, the clients who'd specifically requested me, the industry connections I'd built. How long do you think it would take to replace your salary?" she asked. "I think I could do better than replace it," I said. I submitted my resignation on a Thursday afternoon, 2 days before quarter close. Timing matters when you want truth to surface quickly. I walked into Patrick's office without scheduling and placed the letter on his desk before he could start talking. He read the first line, looked up and said, "This seems sudden," which was completely wrong in a way only denial can be. I said 2 weeks' notice and waited. He asked if this was about the promotion. I said no because it wasn't anymore. He tried again, slower this time. The company needed stability. My work was critical. This wasn't good timing. "That's exactly why," I said, and stood up before he could respond. Within an hour, my calendar filled with meeting requests I hadn't accepted yet. By end of day, news had spread in that careful, hushed way companies use when they're hoping to contain something they can't. The calls started immediately. First came from a VP I rarely interacted with, asking if anything could change my mind. I said no. Second came from HR, asking how much documentation I could prepare. I asked what technical decisions they needed it to support. There was a pause, then a list that kept growing as she spoke. I said I'd prioritize what affected active clients. That night, I went home on time and didn't check email. Hadn't done that in years. The next morning brought chaos. My inbox was flooded with urgent requests, escalations that had been sitting in other people's queues for days, and client issues that suddenly needed immediate attention. First, retention offer came that afternoon, framed as a career conversation. Title adjustment, compensation bump, remote flexibility. I thanked them and declined. Second came the next day, more urgent with specific numbers. 35% salary increase. Director title, stock options. I declined again. By Monday, the tone had shifted. Meetings were shorter, questions sharper. People stopped pretending this was manageable. The real panic started when clients began making moves of their own. Apex Solutions called an emergency meeting and asked to speak with me directly. No sales team, no account managers, just me and their technical leadership. "Chris," their CTO said, "we've been talking internally. When you leave TechFlow, where are you going?" I told them I was starting independent consulting. What would it take for Apex to be your first client? That conversation lasted 2 hours. By the end, I had my first contract signed, a $1.2 million annual retainer to oversee all their cloud infrastructure, more than my TechFlow salary. Word travels fast in our industry. Pacific Networks called the next day with a similar proposal, then DataCore, then two companies I'd never worked with directly, but who'd heard about my track record through the technical community. During my final week, I had $3.8 million in confirmed contracts and a 6-month waiting list. I was booking work faster than I could deliver it. TechFlow's leadership made increasingly desperate offers: equity partnership, technical founder role, my own division. Patrick even suggested they could restructure Anthony's position if I stayed. I declined everything politely and professionally. Final day, I closed what I could, sent transition notes, turned in my badge. Walking out, my phone buzzed with a message from CloudFirst, asking if I'd landed somewhere new yet. I didn't answer right away. Stepped into the elevator. Doors closing. Felt the building recede without drama. What I left behind wasn't a gap. It was a mirror, and they were finally forced to look. Calls didn't stop after I left. They multiplied, changed voices, dropped any pretense of courtesy. Patrick called daily for the first week, each conversation more desperate than the last. The CTO offered to double my last salary. Eduardo Rodriguez, the CEO and Anthony's uncle, personally flew to my house with a contract that would have made me the highest-paid employee in company history. I told him the same thing I told everyone else. I'm not available. Within 8 weeks, TechFlow lost $9.5 million in contracts. Apex, Pacific Networks, DataCore, and 2 smaller clients either terminated early or declined to renew. Anthony's team couldn't handle the technical complexity without my guidance, and clients weren't interested in training someone else's staff on their own time and money. The company reorganized twice in 4 months. Patrick decided to pursue other opportunities. Anthony got moved to a project management role with no direct reports. They hired 3 senior engineers to try filling the gap I'd left, but experience can't be replicated overnight. 8 months later, I'm running Sullivan Tech Consulting with 3 full-time engineers and 7 clients. My smallest contract is worth more than my old salary. My largest is $2.2 million annually, Apex's full infrastructure management deal. I spoke at the Southeast Tech Conference last month about cloud security best practices. Had 4 companies approach me afterward about potential partnerships. The article I published in Infrastructure Weekly about enterprise failover strategies has been downloaded 15,000 times. Last month, I ran into Patrick at a networking event in downtown Atlanta. He looked tired, but professional. We talked briefly about the market, the challenges of scaling technical teams, the importance of recognizing talent early. No tension, no hard feelings, just 2 professionals who'd learned different lessons from the same experience. He asked how business was going. I told him it was good. He mentioned that TechFlow was hiring again, building their technical team back up. I wished him luck with that. The story people like to tell about situations like mine ends with vindication. Someone admitting they were wrong, asking forgiveness. That didn't happen and didn't need to. Real ending was quieter. Realizing that moment in the boardroom wasn't the loss I thought it was the release. Humiliation didn't diminish me. It clarified the terms. Everything that followed flowed from that clarity. Sometimes the best revenge is just being right about your own worth. They thought keeping me comfortable in my old role was safer than promoting me. Turns out, comfortable employees eventually become competitors. I spent years trying to prove I deserved their respect when I should have been building something that commanded it. The difference between being indispensable and being valuable is simple. Indispensable people can't leave. Valuable people choose to stay. They confuse my loyalty for dependency, forgetting that the most dangerous employee is the one who finally stops needing you more than you need them. Sometimes companies don't lose good people. They release them to become the competition they never saw coming. The moment they made me feel replaceable was the moment I realized they were.